We're following the breaking news in Southern California where police say 14 people are dead, 14 more are wounded in a mass shooting at a social services center in San Bernardino. A manhunt is still going on right now for as many as 3 gunmen.
It all began at 11 o'clock this morning, Pacific time, 2 o'clock our time. There were hundreds of people inside the facility when the shooting began.
Here's what we know at this moment. Again, 14 people are dead, 14 more are wounded and are being treated at hospitals. The scene is the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino, which serves the disabled. Up to 3 gunmen are being sought. It is believed they took off in a dark-colored SUV. Tarek is following the developments of this still-breaking story and has an update for us. Tarek?
Tom, the president and CEO of the Inland Regional Center says the shooting happened in a conference area where the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health was having a banquet. It is believed the gunmen were wearing military-style gear when they opened fire. A short time ago, we heard from one of California's 2 U.S. senators, Senator Barbara Boxer, who was understandably emotional following the news of a mass shooting in her home state.
It's heartbreaking to see another mass shooting in this great country. In my beautiful state, innocent people, children, looks like a war zone. And it's not enough to keep lamenting these things. We have to take action.
The building where the shootings took place housed several hundred employees. We saw some of them walking out of the building. You see there with their hands up as law enforcement searched the building and tried to secure it. We've been hearing from people who have loved ones in the building as well as witnesses who heard this tragedy unfolding.
I was going home. I got bipolar. I race a lot because I have a disorder. I was racing over to go to the bus going up, and I turned on from XPX. I was walking, and all of a sudden, bum, 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 and she was playing, and all of a sudden, boom! It just, it was like right here.
Boom, 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 boom,
and then
boom,
they
boom.
said they're on the loose.
Yeah, and I was right behind the building, and I heard all the
I
shots.
started walking down by the Outback to get away, and people out there, and they heard. So I don't know what's going on here, but I was kind of scared about people.
President Obama has not yet made a public statement on this mass shooting, but he did speak with CBS News. He said they don't know many details yet, but the FBI is on the ground. The president says because this is an active shooting, he is asking people to not make quick judgments about who did this or why it happened. He said he was upset that there have been so many mass shootings during his presidency and hopes that these shootings do not become routine for Americans. Of course, if President Obama does make a public statement, we'll bring that to you live right here on News4Jax and News4Jax.com.
Thank you, Tarek. We heard from the San Bernardino police chief at 5 o'clock. He said that he would be updating reporters on the hour. It is now 2 minutes past 6 o'clock. At this point, the San Bernardino police have not yet scheduled a news conference. Of course, as soon as they hold a news conference, we'll bring it to you live.
And in the meantime, our crime and safety analyst, Gil Smith, is joining us now with his perspective, the police perspective on this. And, you know, they've started the search. There's 3 suspects, the police chief said, have fled in a dark-colored SUV. It seems like a needle in the haystack. Where did they begin, or do they begin?
Exactly, because there are so many dark-colored SUVs in every state. So what they would probably do is check for surveillance video that's there on the property where the shooting occurred to see if they can get any video of the SUV. Maybe find something that may be distinctive about that particular one, or possibly even a tag number. That would be great. Then they can find out who that vehicle is registered to and go to that location, because there's a possibility that the car could have been carjacked and it could have been taken from someone. The thing is, we're used to seeing active shooter situations end much more quickly. This is going on over 4 hours now. Usually the person would have surrendered, or the police would have killed the suspect, or may have committed suicide. But this is the first one where we're saying the people actually left the area and fled to another location, because that's the top priority usually for law enforcement, is to contain the area. Don't allow anyone out, but it happened so quickly that they were able to leave before law enforcement was fully deployed.
Well, think of the fear of the residents of Southern California, particularly in San Bernardino, to know that there are possibly as many as 3 armed men with long rifles who, according to witnesses, were wearing body armor, and that they're on the loose. I mean, the thought would be they're going to go into hiding, but the other thought would be they're going to attack someplace else.
Exactly. The entire area, I'm sure, is on edge right now. I'm sure that people have locked down. They have their own weapons prepared in case someone comes to the residence, have the floodlights on around the house. Because like you said, there are 3 very dangerous gunmen out there. And we don't know anything about them. We don't know where they're going, what they're doing, what their plan is. So almost anything can happen. So I'm sure people are on edge, and they're probably going to stay up all night until they find out what happens with these 3 men.
And Gil, it's not clear why. I mean, we're just looking at this going, why would they attack this specific center? Although there's word that there was a banquet or some sort of holiday celebration going on in one of the main rooms that maybe had something to do with government officials. But clearly where do they begin then?
Now that's one place they would start also, to find out who these people are that were having the banquet, where they were from. Did they have any employees that were recently fired? Could it be possibly a disgruntled employee? From
but
either
there's 3.
Right, so
that's what makes it.
Which means they may have had, they'll just check it out. It's a possibility. They may have fired a few people recently or had to lay off people recently. So they'll check those people out also. And right now, everything is open because they really don't have, like you said, they really don't have any idea, any clue. So now everything is just wide open to check all possibilities.
When the president talked to CBS News earlier today, and once again, he has not addressed the nation, but when he does address the nation, we'll bring it to you. But in his comments to CBS News, he urged Americans not to think that mass shootings are an everyday occurrence. And yet, Gil, we've had 3 in just the past 10 days. There was the shooting at the playground in New Orleans where 17 people, many of them kids, were wounded, and arrests had been made in that. Then Planned Parenthood last Friday. And now this. What are we to think except that these mass shootings are routine?
Yeah, I know he said that. It's not an everyday occurrence, but...
Well, you can see his frustration.
Yeah, very frustrated. I just happened to be, I was in my car listening to CNN, and when it first broke, I mean, they weren't excited, they weren't alert. They said, okay, here we go again, another shooting. They were very calm, like it was routine, like it's just another part of their news day. And so we are, unfortunately, becoming accustomed to this, and it's just happening too much.
We can't live this way.
Gil, thank you very much.
You.
Sure.
Now, many messages, pictures, and video are being posted on social media about this mass shooting. That includes a text from a woman who was stranded inside the building while the gunmen were opening fire. Joy is joining us now from our hyperscreen with more of what we're finding online. Joy.
We're going to show you that text first. And just imagine you're a parent, your child is inside this building, and the only way you're communicating is by text. The group Moms Demand Action, which addresses gun violence, tweeted a photo. We're going to take a look at this. And this text message is from Holly. She works at Inland Regional Center. It says, quote, "Dad, shooting at my work, shot people in office, waiting for cops to catch him. Prayer for us." The dad responds, "Hide. Hide in a good spot. Hide now." She says, "I am. Cops on the way? I am, but we are locked in an office. Cops, SWAT, helicopter, everything." This next tweet, it comes from Everytown, and it says, take a look, gives us some statistics. San Bernardino is the 21st mass shooting this year, the 141st since January of 2009, the 61st mass shooting since Newtown. And finally, President Obama, his statement when speaking with CBS News, you heard Tom just talking about this, the president saying, quote, "We have a pattern now of mass shootings in this country. There's no parallel anywhere else in the world. There are steps we can take to improve the odds that they don't happen as frequently. Common sense, gun safety laws, stronger background checks." President Obama speaking to CBS News. We'll continue monitoring images and information coming out of California. We'll bring you more later on in our newscast. Tom?
Thank you, Joy. To recap what we know at this point about this breaking news, there are as many as 3 armed men on the loose right now, and they are being sought. They're suspected of a mass shooting inside a social services building in San Bernardino. 14 people are dead. 14 more are wounded and are being treated at hospitals. Police do not know who the gunmen are. They have no idea at this point what the motive is. At least if they do, they're not revealing it. We're expecting an update from the San Bernardino police chief at any moment. As soon as he steps up to the microphone, we will bring that to you live. And we'll also have continuing coverage for you on our website on news4jax.com.